The Chargers come in at number 6. Big win over the Chiefs. Big opportunity for the Chargers to make a statement on who they are. This was a big moment for the Chargers, so they had to make it into this list. Caroline Fenton, they make it in as number 6.
Look, and I do not disagree with that. They obviously pick up a big win against the Chiefs in week 1. I feel like we just keep waiting for Justin Herbert to take that next step. So sure, let's say like he could potentially take that next step. And maybe this isn't fair because I had, the picks 4 and 5. I drafted the Chiefs with the 5th overall pick. Now, if this was the
this was the great injustice of our entire power rankings that you took the Chiefs.
Listen,
you took the Chiefs at 5. Sorry.
This isn't the AP poll, okay? It's not like whenever a team, beats one team and that team that won gets to be ranked above the other team. That's not what this is. This is the trust that we have in these individual teams to win as many games as possible this season. So if I am going to plant my flag in a team to win however many games in a season, you think I'm not going to pick Patrick Mahomes at the 5th overall pick? Or, excuse me, that's a steal. Did the Chiefs look rough against the Chargers week 1? Yes, they did. Am I concerned about the wide receiver position now that Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice will be out for an extended period of time? Yes, I am 100%. But am I going to get an opportunity to pick teams that I think are going to win as many games as possible in a season and not pick Patrick freaking Mahomes? Of course not. Of course I'm not going to pass up on the opportunity to pick a Patrick Mahomes-led Chiefs team, even with flaws, because we saw that 2023 version of the Chiefs had plenty of flaws, that there were not a whole lot of talent stacked on that team. And what did they do, Fitz? What did they do? They won a Super Bowl. So I am never going to count out Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, even when they looked as rough as they did at times against the Chargers week 1.
I'm never going to count out Mahomes and the Chiefs either. But see, this is where I, as the six-pack power rankings voter that I am in this process, not an AP voter, this is where I came in with the Chiefs, though. And my argument to all of this is that the only thing I can go on is what we saw in week 1. And there is just this. I'm not counting anything we thought coming into the season. I'm only going on what we saw week 1. And if I only go on what I saw week 1, there is not a chance in hell that the Kansas City Chiefs were a top 6 team. They are a damaged football team. It's only 1 week. And sure, we agree, by the end of the year, your ranking much more accurate than mine if you're keeping them in the top 6, because I'm not going to bet my house against Kansas City. But if it's only based on 1 week of action, that was 1 week of pig slop from the Kansas City Chiefs. That was not 1 week of good football. They weren't even a top 10 team for week 1. So, look, I hear you, and you are doing it the smart and measured way because you're using the context of what we all know. I'm just using the context of week 1, and that team sucked in week 1. I don't care how we package it. So then, Caroline, you had the vote for number 4, and at number 4, yes, you had the Philadelphia Eagles.
The Philadelphia Eagles. You say it like you have disgust on your face. No, the Eagles at 4. Look, did the Eagles look vulnerable at times? Yes, 1,000% they did. I have question marks about their secondary. Who is their corner number 2? I don't know. Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb pre-drops, and we're able to take advantage of a secondary that does have some question marks. It's still the Philadelphia Eagles. Are you kidding me? Jalen Hurts barely even threw the football. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith got combined 3 catches? And they still won. They have Saquon Barkley. He's still running. Actually, I think I can see him. Actually, he's run all the way from Philadelphia to Charlotte. He is still running. So yes, give me the Philadelphia Eagles. And if I can get them at 4, I'm getting the 2 reigning, Super Bowl champion and Super Bowl runner up at 4 and 5. Talk about value. Man.
Okay, so I will agree with you.
Howie Roseman over here, drafting for value. Okay,
let's call him. Just take it back. I will agree with you a little here, though.
People do tell me that I am the sports talk. I'm the Howie Roseman of sports talk hosts. People tell me that all the time.
Is there just name one? Just name one person that's ever told you that. That's a.
You don't know them. They go to another school.
That's what I did when I was a fat kid growing up. Yeah, I was always in a relationship with a girl in another town. All right. So at number 3, I've got the Green Bay Packers. And this is where I'll say, the Eagles, they won and they're defending Super Bowl champions. But I'm going to be consistent in how I vote for things. I'm basing it just on what we saw this year. And like that gives us one game, 1 week, one body of evidence. And I really struggled. I thought about putting Green Bay at 1. I would have thought about putting Green Bay at 1 or even at 2 based on how they looked. But they'll settle in at 3 because of the game of the century that we saw. So I take Green Bay at 3, even though they demolished their opponent, because I think for some context here, I used the eye test and I had picks 2 and 3. So because I used the eye test, Caroline, I'll let you decide if I got this in the right order. I put the Ravens at 2. So since I had the Ravens at 2, I put the Packers at 3. Did I get that right? Even though the Ravens lost, is it right now today? Would you put the Ravens or the Packers ahead of them?
I would put the Packers at 2. And look, I had the number 1 overall pick. We will get to my pick in just a second.
Yeah.
I was choosing between the team that I picked and the Green Bay Packers. If we are, because I think I was thinking of it, I was approaching it like which teams do we think are going to win the most games this season? If we are just basing it off of 1 week, I think the Green Bay Packers looked like the best and most complete football team in the National Football League. And look, the Ravens looked really, really good for a half, but they fell apart defensively in the second half. So I think that we all have fair questions about the Ravens. I think we have fair questions about why can't the Ravens close out double-digit leads in the fourth quarter? Like that is an anomaly to me. Like we need scientists and historians and philosophers and all of the above to take a look at why the Ravens can't close out some of these, games that they have massive, leads in. So I would say I would give the Green Bay Packers an edge over the Ravens. But if you say, hey, I will give you the option of the Ravens or the Packers, my answer would be yes.
Okay, well, that's why I ended up with the Ravens at 2, and I can't get out of my mind. So this was the hard part for me, because when I was trying to figure out between Baltimore and Green Bay at 2 or 3, in my mind I kept thinking about the fact that whoever won that Sunday night game was going to be my number 1. So just because they lost, the Ravens lost that in such a dramatic fashion at the end, I can't get out of my head how good it looked when it looked right for Green Bay. So eye test. It's the eye test, the dreaded eye test. I took Baltimore at number 2, which means the number 1 team in all the land, by the way. I'll let you reveal your pick at the number 1 team, and then let's acknowledge we're going to get murdered for this power rankings. Go ahead.
The Buffalo Bills are
Shocking.
the number 1 team in our NFL power rankings. Did the Buffalo Bills for the entirety of 60 minutes look dominant and in control and like the best football team in the NFL? No. No, they did not. But they've got a man under center that I think can give Bills fans and all of us optimism and hope, or if your team is playing the Bills, a sense of dread and woe, and that's Josh Allen. And Josh Allen has proven time and time again, and he proved it on Sunday Night Football that, you cannot count him out. He has that clutch gene that Patrick Mahomes has that's just like, oh, mama, look at that man. So the Bills beating the Ravens, who I view as one of the best teams in the NFL, when they had a double-digit deficit going into the fourth quarter and they were able to close it out in regulation, I was just so impressed with the poise that we saw from that entire team. Do they have flaws? Yes, they do. But they were able to pull out, I think, the biggest win against, obviously the Packers looked the best, but I think the Bills had the biggest win of week 1.
Yeah, I mean, what the Bills did and who they did it against. This is where it sounds like, we should give more credit for the win over the Lions. I do give credit for the win over the Lions, but I also have to acknowledge the amount of adjustment the Lions are going through right now. So I'm not sure what version of the Lions that was. So what I'm taking, the concept of what we saw from Buffalo and frankly, what we saw from Baltimore, what we saw from Green Bay, and what we saw from Philly, all 4 of those teams have a very reasonable argument to be the number 1 team on a power ranking after their week 1 wins. But what Buffalo did, particularly against Baltimore, and Baltimore did against Buffalo, holds more weight for me. So it's weird to put an 0-1 team up there at number 2. I get that. But when I look at this ranking, if we were putting these teams on neutral fields, I feel pretty good about where it is right now. This is also impossibly difficult and is going to look wildly different by week, 14, 13.
2. Maybe. I mean,